someone just sent out an email about uploading online, thinking I was freaking out. I thought he said, but don't worry, you're not in trouble. So I knew there was an email. My head was like, I'm about to meet all these lawyers.
Right.
And then I was like, congratulations. It's all eating, breaking the rules. It's just like, whew, with the music teacher.
Right. Well, that does sound like, to me, that does sound like a typical human resources move. You know, if you've violated a unspoken tenet of the organization and they're not particularly happy with that, the probability that there'll be people lying in wait for you to misstep is very, very high. Like the typical HR procedure is you get a warning written.
I didn't get a written warning.
Yeah, well, they didn't follow exactly the time-worn pathway in your case. God
they don't
only
need
knows
to.
why.
It's an unusual school.
Right. That's probably why. But the typical pathway is you get a written warning. Then you get another written warning. Then you get another written warning. If they've decided to get rid of you, they'll find reasons for the warning. Once you have 3 written warnings, the probability that you have legal recourse if you're terminated starts to become very low. And so that's a very typical way of dispensing with people. But you said on the YouTube side that the details of your contract were such that they didn't need much of a paper trail to dispense with you. What the hell do you think the rationale was for getting rid of you, though? I mean, it isn't easy for them to come by teachers, first of all, and you had been doing a very good job and you were reliable. You were there for 4 years.
I think it's what we articulated before about, is it in their interest? Is it more of a liability? Just weighing those scales.
Yeah, it was just easier not to have you around.
It's just easier not to have that potential. Maybe he might say something down the line, because there are unusual things that go on there. Again, a lot of it.
Yeah. It's also reasonably probable that you would say something that was controversial. You already have.
Probably will screw up, you know?
Yeah. Well, or at least draw more attention to the school in a way that would be potentially scandalous, right? Now, as we discussed before, a more entrepreneurially organized organization would be open to the possibility that could be a real opportunity. And you said that the previous school, you think that...
I believe that. They were.
Right. They would have seen that as, a godsend. Now, you were markedly calm when we discussed the conditions of your firing. Why? Like, why aren't you annoyed about it? Or maybe you are.
I was. Or you said when in the video that I posted?
No, I'm just talking about your response to the termination.
Oh, I've had time to reflect on it.
Okay, when did it happen?
Late July.
Okay, so it's still relatively recent. Late July, okay. And so how did you respond at the meeting?
I knew that there was nothing I could say that they had been looking logically. It just makes sense. They were looking for a reason.
Yeah.
Their mind's already made up. This is what they want. There's nothing they're saying they're going to do an investigation.
Yeah.
Which was a mistake, because all they did was just try and dig into my life, or they have a computer, they have to find, in the hope they could find something better.
Right.
Which they wouldn't have to offer me money to do an NDA. They could just use that as leverage. I mean, it was it's clearly, you can tactically it makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So
I knew.
Okay. So you knew you were sunk.
I mean, there was I'll be honest, there was a sliver of my soul that I went home, threw up, and just, it was strange. I couldn't stop throwing up, and I slept on the floor of the bathroom, and it was very strange. There was a sliver of me that was hoping that phone call would come in and they would be like, you know what, we need teachers. You're valuable. You know what, this really wasn't that big of a deal. We understand that you thought you had crossed the T's and dotted the I's. You reached out to the parents. You got the kids' permission. Yes, you didn't check with this person, but okay, learn your lesson. Then we'll chalk it up to it, but no.
Okay, so that's a pretty severe stress response.
Yeah.
What do you think exactly you're responding to? Like, I mean, it sounds to me like part of that's a betrayal, right? I mean, you had a hard job, and from everything you told me, I think the reasonable conclusion is that you did it exceptionally well, not least merely because you were there for 4 years, right? That's a hard job. It's an unlikely job to maintain. And even regardless of the quality of your teaching, the mere fact that you stuck it out for 4 years is telling. But then you also did a good job. And it's very annoying to be punished when you've done a good job, right? That's very annoying.
I've heard you talk about that. Yeah, it's like the ultimate.
That's Nietzsche's punishment. If you really want to punish someone, you punish them for their virtues. Yes, definitely.
I think also maybe it's a masculine trait when your identity is pulled out from under you. Being fired is just tough, even when.
Yeah, right.
It's strange because, gosh, I can't imagine going through that when there's not a silver lining. So many people were saying, maybe they're just trying to make me feel better. This is the best thing that could happen to you. They did you a favor. It doesn't feel like maybe that's true. It didn't feel like that in the moment. It did cause, I mean, if we're just looking at this objectively, it did cause things to move that were of benefit.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But
yeah,
I might not be sitting, I wouldn't be sitting here right now speaking to one of the singular people I admire most in this world had I not lost that job. So how do you make sense of this?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I can sympathize. You know, I mean, since unwisely putting up those YouTube videos, an unlimited horizon of opportunity has opened up for me. But I lost my university job. I lost my research position. My clinical practice became impossible. I really knew those people too. I wasn't happy about severing ties with them so suddenly. My life got flipped upside down, a tremendous amount of pressure on my family. And we've learned to deal with that. But for a long time, it was a lot. And I'm not complaining about any of that, but it's not nothing. And your life, definitely, the rug's pulled out from underneath you when you lose your job, because you lose your routine, you lose your predictable future. And there's also the stain on your reputation, rightly or wrongly, that's associated with being terminated. And that's also, even if it's completely unjust, it raises doubt, and it raises doubt in the minds of other people as well. So yeah, none of that's nothing, definitely.
And
well, that's why people don't take the risk to begin with, because none of that's nothing.
And the loss of my best friend, that music teacher who we were building the channel with, which makes logical sense why he couldn't continue that. But the way it happened was painful. So you vanish. That's how you just vanish. And then I got a text from him the next day. He had just found out. He's like, I just heard, are you okay?
Yeah.
And I said, I'll manage. It all happened very fast. It was very confusing. That was the text.
Yeah.
Everyone in that situation, they're very careful. They don't want to do something wrong, jeopardize, cross a line. So
sure, he would have felt like he was on the edge too.
Oh, I'm sure he was. He's in all so many of those videos. His voice,
right?
Even
well, he's also now alone.
He was right. He was in a lot of those videos. Like before the viral thing, his face was in it. He helped me come up with the Secret Scholar Society. And so eventually he, a week went by and he said, can I come get the gear? Because we'd had that studio set up. And I said, yeah, it's his gear. He needs to come get it. But I could see where this was going. And he comes to my house. It was very strange. We went outside and sat for a bit. And I was like, what do you want to do about the YouTube channel? And he said, I can't do it anymore. He's like, I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I understand. Fair enough.
That must have also been very hard on him. Because that's an adventure.
So I don't want to. Yeah, it was. He's got a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Wife, like he's already put enough out there. And sticking with me, that tainted zebra for that long, when no one else would. Even when people, they were debating about the whole J.K. Rowling video, should Warren be for morally, it was wrong for him to upload it, is this? And he would tell me about these debates that were happening when I wasn't around. And he would say, guys, this makes it like, where's the issue? The lawyers said there was no issue. Like, why do you? And so he was that voice. And that was the last time I ever saw him. But it was interesting because he left me this mixer that would allow me to plug in a mic to continue. And I was like, could I buy that off you? And, you know, it would allow me to run this mic. And he just put it down and didn't say a word. Just got in his car. And neither of us said goodbye or anything. I think it was too hard for him. It just,
Right.
I think both of us was just to pretend